And the United States has reportedly pressed Ukraine to accept its proposal to end the war with Russia during talks in Geneva. And this is despite Kiev's protest that the plan conceded too much to Moscow. A senior official quoted in the report say Washington did not directly threaten to cut off aid if Kiev rejected its proposal, but that Ukraine understood that this was a distinct possibility. The U.S. plan, originally made up of 28 points, would see Ukraine effectively cede its eastern Donetsk and Luhansk regions to Russia and slash the size of its military. On Sunday, Ukrainian, U.S. and European officials met in Geneva to draft an updated version of the plan to end the war, but the Kremlin responded saying that it would not accept European amendments. The White House has meanwhile pushed back on criticism that U.S. President Donald Trump was favoring Russia in his efforts to end the war.
The idea that the United States of America is not engaging with both sides equally in this war to bring it to an end is a complete and total fallacy.
White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said that there is no meeting scheduled between Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky this week. An earlier report said that Zelensky could travel to the U.S. to discuss with Trump sensitive aspects of the plan to end the war in Ukraine.
Команда наша доповідала сьогодні вже по новому драфту кроків, і це дійсно правильний підхід. Чутливі речі, сенситивні речі я обговорю з президентом Трампом. Україна ніколи не буде перепоною для миру. Це наш принцип, спільний принцип. І мільйони українців розраховують і заслуговують на достойний мир. Все для цього зробимо. Ми готові працювати максимально швидко.
Now, Trump initially gave Zelensky until Thursday to respond to the first version of the plan, but German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has thrown doubts on Trump's deadline, saying at an EU-Africa summit in Angola that discussions would be a lengthy, long-lasting process. The UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has said that important progress has been made in efforts towards a just and lasting peace, but insisted that Russia now needs to come to the table and stop bombardment. While negotiations continue, powerful explosions rocked Kiev overnight. Ukraine's energy ministry said a massive attack targeting power facilities was underway, as the military reported a barrage of drones and missiles fired at the Ukrainian capital. On the other hand, Ukrainian airstrikes killed at least 3 people in Russia's Rostov region. Russia's defense ministry claimed that it downed nearly 250 Ukrainian drones during overnight attacks. And for more on this, we're now being joined live by Dr. Umit Nazmi Hazir from Moscow. He is a political scientist and an expert in Russian politics. We are also being joined live by Dr. Sergei Sumileny from Kiev. He is a defense expert and director, European Resilience Initiative Center. Thank you so much and welcome to both of you on the broadcast. I would like to begin with Dr. Sumileny. Washington did not directly threaten to cut off aid if Kiev rejected its proposal, but the Ukraine has understood that it was a distinct possibility. How vulnerable is Ukraine at this point into giving into Moscow's terms with U.S. imposing?
Well, this is not the first time when the United States threatened Ukraine to cut military support. We have seen it already a couple of times during the last year. And we also see that the United States do not have that much leverage now, because the most of the U.S. support has already been cut off. Of course, the United States cooperates with Ukraine in the field of exchange of information, exchange of intelligence. But if you look at the delivery of weapons, of tanks, IFVs, missiles, etc., everything like this kind of weapons comes either from Europe or being produced in Ukraine. So I don't think that the U.S. have that much leverage in pressuring Ukraine, but the U.S. has, of course, leverage of signing something bilaterally with Russia and practically giving Russia right to hold what Russia holds illegally against the international law. That would be a major breach of the international law by the United States already.
Right. All right. Dr. Hazy, I'll come to you with this. Now, we know that there's this 28-point peace plan is, of course, being discussed by European leaders and the U.S. and Ukraine. Kremlin, so far as we know, has responded saying that it will not accept European amendments. How is Russia looking at these peace talks coming out of these U.S. and Ukraine and European talks?
You know that yesterday there were some statements by the Kremlin, and it seems that Russia supports this agreement. And actually, it is not agreement, it is like ultimatum. And it seems that it was like jointly prepared by United States and Russia, because there are almost 28 articles, and most of them are in line with the demands of Russia. That's why Russia is actually now supporting this agreement. But it is not acceptable for Ukraine, because it is the plan of Trump peace plan, actually extremely harsh from Ukraine perspective. So it is acceptable for Russia, quite acceptable for Russia, but not acceptable for Ukraine. And what's more, European countries also are strongly opposed to this plan, and I do believe that there will be some revisions. And as we monitoring, there are some negotiations, and some articles have been almost changed. So it is not possible to implement this plan. So definitely it will be revised, and new plan will be presented and discussed with Russia.
Right. Dr. Somoneni, now, of course, we know that these points are being discussed, but if you look at Ukraine's position right now, and we look at the battlefield, every different week we know that Russia has been capable of taking more land. Do you think Ukraine at this point is more vulnerable into taking into this, well, they have been calling it the Russian wish list, but is it not that Ukraine is now in a position to take over and consider this peace plan and go ahead with it?
Well, I would not say that Russia's advance, which is fact, on the ground Russia is advancing, is something which gives Russia that much leverage. If you look at the scale of the advance, Russia indeed takes one village, another village, but on Donbass, it is one of the most dense populated territories of Ukraine, or used to be before the full-scale invasion. You drive like 1 mile, you go to another village. So the Russia's advance since the last 1 year has allowed Russia to conquer less than 1% of Ukrainian territory, compared with Russia's retreat in 2022, when Russia has left like 10% or 15% of Ukraine's territory. Russia pays enormous price for this advance, taking one empty village or another empty village. Russia was not able to take Pokrovsk for 2 years. Pokrovsk is 70,000 people city. 2 years Russia could not take it. Now Russia is celebrating taking Pokrovsk, advancing for, let me say, 25 kilometers within the last 2 years as huge success. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And we know that Russia's casualties, not only in form of manpower, but also in form of economic damage, as Ukraine has unfolded since the last 12 months, its program on attacking Russian oil refineries. These casualties by Russia are huge. Every single night, Ukraine hits another Russian oil refinery. Russian oil export has practically stopped. Russia oil consumption in country is extremely low compared to the statistics of the last two countries. I don't think that Russia can win on the battlefield, and that is why Russia demands from Ukraine to give up what Russia cannot take by force. Russia tries to influence Ukraine and to force Ukraine into signing this treaty to get by diplomatic means or by pressure, by blackmailing, what Russia is not able to take by force.
All right, Dr. Hazy, I'll come to that. Would you agree with that point? And now, if we actually look at the statistics, of course, as Russia has something to give up. Now, they are at a full, they're also currently with damage. So do you think it is also time for Russia to actually stop bombardment and actually come on the table and agree with these and agree to some of the points that, of course, Ukraine will also be looking for because cutting down military, not joining NATO, taking these already these lands. Do you think that Russia is supposed to go and, of course, agree to some of the points that Ukraine would want to go for?
First of all, I would like to remark that the position of Ukraine is more difficult than Russia, because both diplomatically and militarily. Because militarily, in recent days, Russia has advanced, for instance, capture Pakrovsk, and Russia has actually more initiative on the ground or battlefield, and many experts in Russia consider that Russia can continue this war for many years, and Russia can resist. It's like a white secret idea or point of view in Russia. And for another thing, Zelensky nowadays face a difficult situation due to the corruption scandal. So that's why Zelensky has more suppression by inside, and also not domestic policy, also by Donald Trump, because Donald Trump gives some ultimate. It's not planned, as already mentioned. And there's a separation of the Trump administration over Zelensky.
Right.
And for another thing, there is a problem of Ukraine in terms of the lackness of soldiers. So overall, Ukraine's position is more difficult, actually. But I would like to underline that despite that, neither side can realistically win the fight, because Ukraine cannot defeat Russia militarily unless the West becomes directly involved in the war. But it means that it is kind of like a triggering Third World War, so it is also not possible. On the other hand, Russia also lacks the resources to conquer the entirety of Ukraine and to establish or maintain political hegemony over Ukraine. Therefore, I do argue that neither side realistically win the war right now.
All right. I'll take your point. And considering both the points, I feel like, of course, this is a time they both have to come on the table. Whether it's, of course, it's diplomatically, they have to resolve the issues. We do not have a lot of time, but thank you to both of you for joining us on the broadcast and giving your perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.